Good morning.
Thank you so much. And hello to those of you who are joining us online later, too. I'm the Reverend Dr. Nancy Hitt, Consulting Minister for the Unitarian Universalist Westside Congregation in Rio Rancho. Our speaker today is Tom Hughes. Tom's presentation is titled, Food Matters. Now, that could be Food Matters, or it could be Food Matters. However, there is no wrong way to hear that title because both emphases are meaningful. Our program is founded on Principle 7, respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. We hope that by the conclusion of our time together today, you will have a keener sense of how food matters in every aspect of our lives. Today we thank Bram and Roxy Kasthecht, our greeters, Dana Sanford, our sound man, Steve Poyani, our cameraman, and Carol Eaglehart, who will be leading us in our music. Here are the announcements for today. Rio the dog still appreciates your recycled newspapers. The bin for her is on the patio outside the social hall door. And as many of you have remembered, I can tell when I walk through the social hall, today is our first post-pandemic potluck lunch, followed by our town hall meeting. Expect the theme from our service to continue into our shared lunchtime, and prepare to participate in our town hall meeting. Our agenda has a variety of important issues on it. And for the record, this is not a members-only meeting. As is customary, our potluck town hall meetings are open to everyone, whether it's your first time or 101st time joining us. Next Saturday, which is July 24th, Carol is hosting a I Just Bought My House party from 2 to 6. The details are in the newsletter that you will have received the middle of this past week, or you may contact Carol herself for directions. Now I invite you to please stand as you are able and join me as we light our chalice here with the responsive reading that you will find either in your bulletin or if you are at home, it will be on your screen. We hunger for many things.
We hunger for life. We hunger for love. We hunger for knowledge. We hunger for the food we need to gain these things. In all of our appetites, may our chalice flame inspire and direct our hunger. Food matters. Shalom.
Would you please join me now as we affirm our aspirations together?
Life is a gift. We gather in community to celebrate the glories and the mysteries of this great gift. In the light of truth and in the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve others in community, to the end that all souls grow into harmony with creation. Thus do we covenant with one another. Shalom.
Please remain standing for our opening chorus, found at number 374.
So you'll recognize this tune right away. It's called the Tallis Band. Since what we choose is what we are, and what we love we yet shall be, the goal may ever shine afar, the will to win it makes us free. Okay, we got it now? Since what we choose is what we are, and what we love we yet shall be, the goal may ever shine afar, the will to win it makes us free. One more time. Since
I invite you now to sit back in your seat, to relax while remaining upright. Center your body over your heart. Uncross your ankles, your knees, your wrists. And let us join together in a moment for centering. Close your eyes if you are comfortable doing so. If you prefer, choose a focal point for your gaze. Turn your attention to your breathing. Breathe fully and deeply, relaxing in the rhythm of your own breath. Breathing in and out, and in and out. Feel yourself expand as you inhale. Feel the release of tension as you exhale. In and out. Let your mind go blank and just breathe. Into that blank space, picture a door. One that leads you to something good. As you step through the doorway, inhale deeply. What is that aroma? What scent do you smell? Is it the perfume of a favorite person? The scent of cleanliness? As you step into the familiar space, what food do you smell being prepared for you? Perhaps it is the smell of a roasting meal in the oven, or the sweetness of your favorite baked goods. Has someone been making jam or putting up pickles? What spices tickle your nose? What savory scents lay under this aroma? Is there a pungent note in the air? Check in with your stomach. Is it growling? What are you hungry for? Breathe in all the aromas that surround you. Revel in the richness the promise of food offers you. Acknowledge your hunger, your anticipation, and now take a last deep breath in through your nose and go back out through the door. Close it gently behind you and breathe deeply in your natural rhythm. In and out. Returning your awareness to the here and now. And when you are ready, open your eyes. Shalom. welcome back. And I'm dying to know what you all smelled. Whenever we meet, we share our joys and concerns and light a candle for each one of them. We celebrate each other's joys and support each other's concerns. If you are joining us online, we invite you to light your personal candles as we light our last one here, speaking your joys and concerns aloud as you do so. We will share those in our basket first. I have a joy. Pfizer may achieve full approval by next month. Maybe the reluctant will sign up then. Okay. And what's that? I can't see over this thing, so. This week on Wednesday, we lost, so this is a concern, we lost two iconic leaders. One was feminist theologian Carol Christ. The other was Sally Gearhart, lesbian activist, author, and educator. And another concern, Sally Moore, one of our former UUWC presidents, broke her foot and had surgery a week ago, so concerns for her continued healing. Now, I will happily bring the mic to anyone who would like to take advantage of it. Do we have other joys and concerns? Yes.
So Michelle Martin is very sorry she can't make it to the meeting today, but she's been under the weather, and let's just hope it's just allergies.
My joy is that Friday night we had a really good turnout for our drama circle. And my concern is my parents are getting ready to fly for the first time since this pandemic started to go out and visit my brother and sister-in-law, and I'm just hoping that they don't end up with any of the crazy flyers out there.
Yes. Anyone or anything else? Ah, yes.
I just wanted to thank everybody that was there for me yesterday for cleaning and support, either in mind, body, or spirit, and I just appreciate it.
All right.
Well, Nancy mentioned my party and the announcements. I'm looking forward to seeing you all there. I want to tell you, you don't need to bring anything. No gifts, no cards, just yourself.
We all get to celebrate the new house. Anyone or anything else? I keep feeling like there was something I meant to mention. Steve is sitting here, so candles work. He is regaining his health, and overall things seem to be going well for our congregation, so that is a joy too. We will light one last candle for everything that we still hold in the privacy of our own hearts and minds. And Tom, I need you to light the red candle. There's a match right here.
Nancy, it's on this side.
What?
It's on this side.
Oh, well, there you go. We light this red candle for the victims of racial violence and all those whose lives have been shaped by the heinous oppression of racism. May we learn to recognize and respond to racism with justice and compassion in all of its manifestations. Shalom. And now I invite Bram to come up and share our animal ministry moment with us.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is Sylvia Brown. She says, what does a totem actually do for me? Totems serve several purposes in our lives. First of all, they serve as sentinels, standing guard on our behalf. This means when totems sense dark spirits or feel we are somehow being threatened, they will instinctively try to scare off our enemies by growling, hissing, or by acting aggressively. Secondly, our totems offer us positive energy simply from their mere presence. Now this is a kitty, and the kitty says, "Flowers? Well, yeah, I ate them. They were mine, weren't they? I thought everything was mine. Isn't it?"
Okay, I'm sure it's no surprise to anyone, and here comes Miss Adia, who's going to be sitting in her special little rocking chair. I'm going to be reading her and all of us a story, and guess what we picked? For our food service, it will be an edited version of Green Eggs and Ham. So I invite you to sit back, relax, and let your inner child out to play. Okay, you and me, I'm gonna turn this on. How's that? Oh, it picks up a little? Okay, so I'm going to show you the pages, okay? This is called Green Eggs and Ham. What color are eggs supposed to be?
Green and green.
Yep, these are green and green. That's true, that's exactly what the cover shows us. Now this is Sam. Sam I am, he says. That's how he introduces himself. Did you ever meet anybody that looked like that? No, me either. But let's read his story. Do you like green eggs and ham? You do. We have a marvel here. Actually, he says, I do not like them, Sam I am. I do not like green eggs and ham. I've never had green eggs. Would you like them here or there? I don't know, what do you think? Does he want them? No, it doesn't look like he does it? I would not like them here or there. I would not like them anywhere. I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not like them, Sam I am. Oh, would you like them in a house? Did you eat breakfast in a house this morning?
Yeah.
You didn't? Did you eat outside? Oh, you were in the house?
I was in the house.
Yeah, most of us are. Would you like them with a mouse? What do you think? Did a mouse keep you company at breakfast? No, me either. Yeah. I do not like them in a house. I do not like them with a mouse. I do not like them here or there. I do not like them anywhere. I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not like them, Sam I am. Would you eat them in a box? Would you eat them with a fox? Not in a box, not with a fox. Not in a house, not with a mouse. I would not eat them here or there. I would not eat them anywhere. I would not eat green eggs and ham. I do not like them, Sam I am. Could you, would you, in a car? Eat them, here they are. I would not, could not, in a car. Forget that, huh? You may like them, you will see. You may like them in a tree. Did you ever eat your oatmeal in a tree? No, me either. Okay. I would not, could not, in a tree, not in a car. You let me be. I do not like them in a box. I do not like them with a fox. I do not like them in a house. I do not like them with a mouse. I do not like them here or there. I do not like them anywhere. I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not like them, Sam I am. You do not like green eggs and ham? I do not like them, Sam I am. You do not like them, so you say. Try them, and you may. Try them, and you may, I say. Sam, if you will let me be, I will try them, you will see. He's still trying to get it, eat that, huh? Okay. Oh, look it, he's gonna eat the green egg. Say, I like green eggs and ham. I do. I like them, Sam I am. And I would eat them in a boat, and I would eat them with a goat. And I will eat them in the rain, and in the dark, and on a train, and in a car, and in a tree. They are so good, you see. So I will eat them in a box, and I will eat them with a fox. And I will eat them in a house, and I will eat them with a mouse. And I will eat them here and there. Say, I will eat them anywhere. I do so like green eggs and ham. Thank you, Sam I am. He learned to like them, huh? You could have that and go back to your grandmother's back there. And thank you very much. Our gifts of love and commitment come in many forms. We give our time, our energy, our various skills and talents, and our money. Together, these gifts express our love for our West Side community, our recognition that everyone is needed and everyone needs everyone else. None of us can be a community alone. So thank you for your contributions to our life together. I'm going to get the basket and bring it up. Oh, okay. Thank you for your help. Thanks. And do I need to pass this anywhere? All right then. Carol's going to lead us in singing From You I Receive.
From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live.
Now I have what I hope is a special treat for you. I'm going to read from this book. It is titled The School of Essential Ingredients. It is written by a woman named Erica Bauermeister. It is the story of a woman who learns to cook as a child when her father leaves the family and her mother retreats to the world of books. Her mother forgets to cook or to clean or even to notice her young daughter. Claire learns to cook in order to eat, and then in order to create her life and enrich the lives of others, particularly a group of students who join the cooking school that she opens at her restaurant. I have to tell you, I love this book. I think the author is amazing in terms of how she writes about food. It's a very sensual, sort of poetic exploration of food and meaning and memory. I highly recommend it, and yes, I will loan it out. So I want to read to you just a few passages so that you get a sense. And I invite you to sit back, to close your eyes if you want to. This is not a didactic, please remember this information sort of thing at all. It's highly experiential. The first goes like this. But it was the cooking that occurred in her friends' homes that fascinated Lillian. The aromas that started calling to her just when she had to go home in the evening. Some smells were sharp, an olfactory clatter of heels across a hardwood floor. Others felt like the warmth in the air at the far end of summer. Lillian watched as the scent of melting cheese brought children languidly from their rooms, saw how garlic made them talkative, jokes expanding into stories of their days. Lillian thought it odd that not all mothers seemed to see it. Sarah's mother, for instance, always cooked curry when she was fighting with her teenage daughter. Its smell rocketing through the house like a challenge. But Lillian soon realized that many people did not comprehend the language of smells that to Lillian was as obvious as a billboard. Perhaps, Lillian thought, smells were for her what printed words were for others. Something alive that grew and changed. Not just the smell of rosemary in the garden, but the scent on her hands after she had picked some for Elizabeth's mother. The aroma mingling with the heavy smell of chicken fat and garlic in the room. The after scent on the couch cushions the next day. The way, ever after, Elizabeth was always part of rosemary for Lillian. How Elizabeth's round face had crinkled into laughter when Lillian had pushed the small spiky branch near her nose. Now here's another. Claire responded and lifted the crab to her mouth, closing her eyes one more time, shutting out the room around her. The meat touched her tongue, and the taste ran through her, full and rich and complicated, dense as a long, deep kiss. She took another bite and felt her feet settle into the floor, and the rest of her flow into a river of ginger and garlic and lemon and wine. She stood even when that bite and the next were gone, feeling the river wind its way to her fingers, her toes, her belly, the base of her spine, melting all the pieces of her into something warm and golden. She breathed in, and in that one quiet moment, felt herself come back together again. Slowly, she opened her eyes. Now here is one specifically about food memories that Tom is going to share a whole lot more about with us later. As the instructor, Lillian says, "Now I want you all to tell me what you think about when I say cake." "Chocolate, frosting, candles, lamb cake," said Ian. "Lamb cake?" asked Lillian, smiling. "What is that, Ian?" Ian looked around the room and saw the others waiting, intrigued. "Well, my dad always made it for Easter. White cake shaped like a lamb with white icing and coconut shavings." He paused, then continued in a rush. "I hated coconut and I thought the whole thing was stupid. But after I went away to college, all I could think about was how I wasn't going to get any of the lamb cake. And then, about a week after Easter, I got a padded envelope in the mail from my dad. Inside was this thing that looked like a frosted cow patty. I called my dad, and you know what he said? 'Well, we missed you, son, so I sent you the lamb butt.'" The other students laughed, and then the room quieted, waiting for the next story. And lastly, I will leave you with another bit of wisdom from Ian, who has been cooking. Ian slid his finger along the edge of the tiramisu, bringing it to his mouth. The texture was warm, creamy, and soft, like lips parting beneath his own. The taste utterly lacking in precision, luxurious and urgent, mysterious and comforting. Ian stood in the kitchen, waiting for Antonia, every sense in his body awake and completely alive, and thought that if the stars were suddenly to fall in a great glorious burst into his kitchen, he would hardly be surprised. Shalom.
I have an opportunity to wear my late 20th century costume, which I haven't. I used to teach in places where I had to wear this sort of thing. So for children, I always had a different tie on. There's my chicken tie. So the kids would always like to guess what the tie would be the next day. Had a lot of fun with that. Also, a lot of fun with the pizza collection. Pizza. You may recognize some of these characters, advertising characters from pizza. Pizza is the universal food. I mean, there's Vietnamese type pizza now. You can go anywhere in the world and people are eating pizza and making it with their own ingredients and their culture. And so it really is a phenomenon. It started in Italy, but it's grown around the world. So what's the first thing that comes to mind when I say a food memory, a childhood food memory, or a teenage food memory? It could be about a place, a person, a thing. It could be positive or negative. Roll that around in your mind for a moment, that memory. And if you're willing, share the subject, not the story behind it, but just the subject with somebody right next to you. Just tell them right now what popped in your mind. Your food memories matter. Your food experiences matter. I've asked hundreds of people this same question, many on long flights sitting next to me. I've never heard the same response twice. And I put a bunch of them in a book I wrote about this subject. Our food experiences reveal who we are, where we're from, our ancestry, and in many cases, how we were nourished and nurtured or not. In my case, the memory is about a place. It's a bakery in my hometown of Haddonfield, New Jersey, an historic Quaker community about 10 miles east of Philadelphia. My mother was raised a Quaker, on a Quaker family in a dairy farm in southwest New Jersey. My parents lived through several wars, a pandemic, a recession, a depression. Food was never taken for granted. My dad kept a vegetable garden, we had fruit trees, the whole family participated. They canned what they didn't eat fresh. Later, they froze it. And my sister and I ate what was put in front of us. Food mattered. It was not taken for granted. The few times that my sister and I resisted, we were always reminded of the starving children in the world. Fortunately, there are always and still probably will be starving children. Mom was an accomplished baker, but every week we had a special treat. We went down to the village baker, and that's the place that comes to mind for me. McClintock's Bakery, run by a Scottish immigrant family. They had the best Danish pastry I've ever tasted. And I've been to Denmark, so I know pretty good pastry. McClintock's is long gone, and there are no photos or records of the place. I checked the town archives and library because I was eager to know more about this landmark of my village. But the place, the atmosphere, is here. It lives with me. It will forever be with me. The paper doilies, underlining the pastries, cookies, pies, and cakes. Do you remember doilies? The McClintock ladies wore starched aquamarine dresses and hairnets. I remember vividly the ball of string that was above the counter, that they would pull the string down and tie up the white folding boxes that would have all of our goodies in it. I think we got a choice of a cookie, but everything else was saved for Sunday or Saturday weekend breakfasts. Our food memories matter. They reveal important information about who we are, who we were and are today. For some, they provide valuable insights into our relationships with people and food. The origins, for instance, of a sugar addiction or other related health issues. Respecting diverse culinary traditions and cultures matters. Many children in our multicultural nation, for instance, have been embarrassed and even harassed over what's in their lunch. Asian kids, for example, bring to school carefully packed, delicious and nutritious foods that reflect their culinary and cultural history, but appear strange and unappealing to their classmates. Who let them know about it? I've witnessed this many times supervising school lunchrooms. Recently, Spill Your Guts or Fill Your Guts, an occasional segment on the Late Late Show with James Corden, came under scrutiny. Celebrity guests were offered unfamiliar foods to taste, including 1,000-year-old eggs, chicken feet, pig's blood, and balut, fertilized developing egg embryo that is boiled and eaten from the shell, a Philippine delicacy. The TV show's guests predictably recoiled at these and other offerings. In a time of increasing attacks on Asian Americans, it became apparent to many that this was unacceptable, and the host apologized. But only after people of Philippine descent shared their memories of eating balut. Kim Sarah, for instance, organized a petition that got 46,000 signatures seeking removal of the insensitive segment. She shared her childhood memory. Miss Sarah grew up eating balut when she visited relatives in the Philippines every year. She recalled sitting around the table with her family during power outages, which were common. Eating the balut by candlelight while everyone told stories. Potatoes and corn matter. I know exact moment when my life's focus changed, my trajectory, my career trajectory changed. In the early 70s, I was teaching 5th grade at the International School of Brussels in Belgium. One weekend afternoon, I was kicking a soccer ball around the backyard of a friend, and it landed in a flower border. "Tom Hughes, get that ball out of my potato patch," yelled the homeowner from his porch. Potato patch? I took a closer look. Here was the source of food I'd consumed all my life, but had completely taken for granted. Potato plants have flowers? After that, I started noticing potatoes everywhere, including, of course, the ubiquitous fried potato kiosks and food trucks. French fries really originated in Belgium. But it was also still common to see Belgians growing potatoes in their yards, a legacy of how they had to supply themselves when the commercial crop was confiscated by invading armies in 2 wars. My curiosity no more led to a classroom project about the history and social influence of potato. Later came opportunities to research the potato all across the planet. The collection of artifacts and artworks my wife and I amassed, that we called the Potato Museum, have been featured in museums and exhibitions in Washington, Ottawa, and many other places. We have been documentary film consultants, written several books, lectured, and provided educational programs on 4 continents. I had pretty much exhausted my quest to know about the potato, the powerful potato, by the way, when I moved into Mexico, focused my attention on the other foods from the Americas, corn, for instance. Corn and potatoes feed the world. Unfortunately, they also have caused a lot of damage. Because only one variety was grown, the so-called 1840s Irish potato, failed, and famine was the result for the poor whose diet centered only on the spud. thanks to those who control land use. The obesity crisis, for instance, currently going on worldwide, for example, can be attributed in part to the corn syrup sweetened soft drinks provided to and downed by those snacker of choice. My initial interest in food history has morphed over the years into a need to educate myself and others about a myriad of critical food issues. Here are a few. Food and farm workers matter. These are essential but also highly exploited and often invisible workers. They produce, process, and cook our foods, yet an estimated 70% are undocumented and unprotected. During COVID, many crops went unattended as workers were either detained at the border or otherwise sick with the virus. Many came to work anyway. Meat packing plants were early virus incubators. A recent CBS Sunday morning report is worth watching on this subject. Trying to save our planet certainly matters. Recently, it has become clear that we need to protect the soils that sequester carbon dioxide in vast quantities in order to reduce global warming. Watch the Netflix documentary Kiss the Earth to learn more. Replacing our industrialized food system with a more regenerative one matters. Besides damaging our environment, we hurt ourselves either by being over or undernourished. It's all out of balance. Environmental justice matters. Polluting agricultural operations like concentrated hog farms are almost always located near poor neighborhoods. Food and food rituals matter to the world's religions. Muslims break their daily Ramadan feast by eating dates. I actually had to change that because that sounds wrong. Eating dates. They eat the fruit of the date palm to break their fast. They also refrain from eating pork products, as do adherents to the Hebrew faith. Christians take communion and practice a variety of food-related Lenten traditions, including Mardi Gras, Fat Tuesday. A certain class of Hindus are strict vegetarians and are Jains, who maintain a variety of food practices, including not eating tasty things. Frequent fasts and wearing a mouth covering to avoid ingesting the smallest living things. Here in New Mexico, land and water rights really matter. These have been disputed and often unfairly stolen for centuries. Reformers such as Spanish colonial governor Thomas Velez Cachupin and in the late 19th century U.S. territorial governor Edmund Ross have used their offices to make things more equitable. Their stories and others are told in a book I'm finishing about the food history of our state. Food sovereignty and control of indigenous lands and ways matter. New Mexican John Collier worked tirelessly to implement the Indian New Deal during the FDR administration. He recognized and promoted the notion that native intelligence matters. That's all over the planet, and especially here in New Mexico, the ways of native peoples demonstrate that a balance between nurturing their people while maintaining a harmony with their surroundings was possible. The Unitarian 7 Principles address all of what I've outlined for you this morning. Spanish-American immigrant chef Jose Andres is a living embodiment of these principles. His World Central Kitchen has popped up seemingly everywhere disasters have struck, providing meals and comfort to those in need. Now, I know that's a lot to digest, what I just presented to you. But I believe we might have time for you to respond, and maybe You might begin by just sharing or listening to someone near you finish that story about a food. Or we can do it publicly, it's however you think we want to do it.
Could
But we
you,
have some time for response.
we do, but could you tell people where your banners
Oh,
are
yeah,
from?
so we've been doing programs all over the Southwest for years, my wife and I have seen. And these posters are banners that were created by Navajo Pine students out the far western part of the state. We did a whole program with them, which was interesting because here we are, white Anglos, talking to and providing insights and opportunities to learn about foods of the Americas, which, by the way, foods that originated in the Americas, North and South, feed 60% of the world now. The chocolates and the pineapples and the beans and the squashes, and the list goes on and on. So anyway, we did this program. They then came to Albuquerque Museum. We did a whole program for the public with these Native American kids, showing off what they'd learned, their displays and all that, and all these banners that they created. So, yeah.
So I will happily bring this to anybody who raises a hand.
Both sets of my grandparents went through 2 wars, the Great Depression, and Grandma Gebeke always made fried potatoes that were nice and salty, and that was the one food that was an almost constant on the table when my dad was very little. To this day, if he hasn't had dinner by 5:30, he gets very cranky because as a child, if they hadn't eaten by 5:30, it meant it was a day they weren't getting fed. My grandma Duval became very frail in body, but her mind was sharp as ever. And I grew up in Fargo, and the agricultural school is there at NDSU. And every year they would send students out to interview my grandmother. And she was being interviewed by a young woman who said she liked walleye when it was caught fresh, but she hated it frozen. And Grandma looked at her and said, "It's because you're not freezing it right." And the gal looked at her and said, "Well, how do you freeze it right? You throw it in the freezer." She says, "No, you got to bring it home in the lake water and freeze it in the lake water. Because when you thaw it out, it tastes fresh caught."
Wisdom.
My potato story, I was just thinking about it. My father grew up in a small town called Shapleyville, Pennsylvania. And potatoes were a big thing for him. He told us kids a story along with I walked 50 miles in the snow to school, which was not true. But the other one I think must have been. His mother would give him potatoes to put in his pocket to take to school, to keep his hands warm on the way to school. And that was his lunch. So it carried on to, growing up, when we would have special meals, Thanksgiving, Christmas, my father had to have 3 types of potatoes. He was very clear, not 1, but 3. Sweet potato, baked potato, and probably mashed potato. I can't remember exactly what we had, but potatoes for him.
So I have a lot of stories that I could tell, but the one that's come to my mind right now goes back to when I was in middle school. I was one of the weird kids. I didn't have very many friends, and so I ended up most of the time eating at the outcast table. And some of the kids that ate there were the Mexican kids who were recent immigrants and probably undocumented. It didn't matter to me. But they would be eating these strange round things with this brown stuff inside of it that smelled really, really good. And I would be eating this really disgusting white bread with bologna and American cheese and mayonnaise, which I despised. And I despise that to this day. And we would just start talking about the food, and I really, really wanted to try what my Mexican friends were eating. And they were more than willing to swap out. And so I sat with them most of the time from then on, made some friends that I kept all the way through high school. And that was the beginning of some really amazing culinary adventures, some of which involved their grandmas actually teaching me how to make tortillas.
My mother's mother ran a restaurant in a small town in Missouri called Bungalow Cafe, and that was where we always, as a family, when we were together, we always ate in the cafe. And the cooks there were African American, and they made the best fried chicken, mashed potatoes, and a cream gravy. And every woman, every relative, female relative in my mother's family made the best fried chicken, mashed potatoes, and gravy because they learned there at the bungalow. And everybody had gardens. And so my memories, being brought up on that kind of a diet didn't seem to affect people negatively so much in those days. Chickens were fresh. My grandmother killed them right there in the backyard of the restaurant. Everything was fresh. And even though it was high fat and high salt, and everybody lived to 96, 97 years old. So I have wonderful memories. Everything you said brought back a taste, a smell, a vision of something from my childhood. So thank you.
I have a question, Tom. As you discussed how potatoes and corn are eaten by so many of the people in the world, I wondered how rice compares to that.
Now what?
Rice.
Rice is, there's 5 world food staples. Rice is number 1. Potatoes and corn are number 2 and 3. I'm not sure what number 4 is. It could be sweet potatoes, very important in Asia and South Pacific. But we have a native rice. It's a grass in Minnesota and that area, which is very important to their culture. So, but yeah, rice is a major food crop, and it's also a challenge because with global warming, the rice varieties that they're depending on in Southeast Asia are not doing well.
Others?
Speaking of Missouri, we would drive out from Philadelphia through Missouri, visit both sets of grandparents on our way out here to Ghost Ranch in New Mexico every summer. And it was very interesting because I had one set of grandparents that lived in Liberty, which is sort of a suburban area of Kansas City. So it was, residential. And those grandparents were always so proud to take us on Sundays to the buffet that was about a 25-minute drive away. And they had all the foods. It was all you could eat, all the different kinds of meat and vegetables and desserts. And that was a huge deal when we visited them. And the other set of grandparents lived rural and had a small farm. And what I remember the most from them is the fresh tomatoes, the homegrown, and just eating the tomatoes right out in the field when they were picked.
I don't know if anybody's seen this yet. It's on either Netflix or Prime Video, and it's called High on the Hog. And if you haven't seen it, I would strongly recommend it. It's a series of several different shows. It all has to do with the foods that came from Africa to the United States. And it shows different parts of Africa, how it got here, and then it goes to states that are here and shows the influence of those foods here. And it's just a fascinating, wonderful series.
Yeah, High on the Hog is the Netflix special, and I really recommend it. Thank you for mentioning that, because it does talk about the fact that a lot of our food, certainly in the East and the Southeast, the cooking that is all really came from Native American cooks, African American cooks, because they were the ones who were doing the cooking for the families. And their ways, many of them were brought from Africa, work their way into our American cuisine. There's no doubt about it, the foundation is all African American.
All right, I'm going to invite you now to open your hymnal to number 207. To stand as you're able, and we will join together in singing Earth Was Given as a Garden, 207.
And you'll recognize this tune too, though I don't know if we've ever sung these words to them, would you agree? Earth was given as a garden, cradle for humanity, tree of life and tree of knowledge, place for our discovery. Here was home for all your creatures, born of land and sky and sea. All creation in your image, all to live in harmony. Show to us again the garden where all life flows fresh and free. Gently guide your sons and daughters into full maturity. Teach us how to trust each other, how to use for good our power, how to touch the earth with reverence, then once more we'll eat and flower. Bless the earth and all your children, one creation, make us whole, interwoven, all connected, planet-wide and inmost soul. Holy Mother, life bestowing, bid our waste and warfare cease. Fill us all with grace o'erflowing, teach us how to live in peace.
And now if you would join me, please, in extinguishing our chalice. The words are either in your bulletin or on your screen at home.
As we extinguish our chalice flame, our appetites still burn within us. May we remember the foods that soothe them, feeding ourselves and our world with the goodness of life. Shalom and amen.
May all of your hungers be fed. May your body be nourished, your relationships nurtured, and may your spirit thrive. May our lives contribute to the care and nurture of the world. Shalom and blessed be. Please, let's gather in the social hall and enjoy our pop-up and town hall meeting.